Hi and welcome back to Flatback 4 podcast. Happy Christmas, Happy New Year. We're back. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. You?
Yeah, good. I feel like refreshed. We've had 2 weeks off. We obviously did our last podcast. We had Mr. Jake Quiglenden on. And
it was great.
We've got a whole bunch of guests. It was great. He's an absolute nutcase. He's brilliant. He's just a good lad. We will get him back on.
Can we just have a review of the last year, man? How good has it been, this podcast over the last, whatever it is, 8 months? Look at that.
Well, we've done it, We've done 8-9 months now, haven't we?
Yeah.
If you think about what we've done and what we've achieved, it's been quite good, hasn't it?
Yeah, so think of the names that we've had on. We've had Dowie, we had the Stenhouse CEO, Jamie, who were a really good one here. We
Brian Dean,
who came on drunk.
Jake Quiglenden. I know, it's good, but I think when we set this up, we said that we wanted to have like a bit of variety as well, and we didn't just want to stick to, we didn't want it just to be, even though we're big Leeds fans, we didn't want it to be just like a Leeds United podcast. We also didn't want just footballers on. We want people that love football, people that are fans like me and you, but might have a different job as well. Like Jake's a singer and whatnot. So I think what we've done in this first 8 months is great, and hopefully, we've been invited. Stenhousemuir, Chorley, which we'll chat about as well. But we can actually go to these grounds once we get over this nightmare, and fingers crossed, we get into the end of it. Maybe 3 months more of this, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
Hopefully, with the vaccination as we record this now, it's January, we're back in lockdown. And actually, that's going to be one of the first things that we talk about. Excuse me. Obviously, we're all back in lockdown at the minute. Elite football is still on. I think it's the right idea. I'm guessing you obviously think it's the right idea, but I want you to justify to me and to people that watch why it is important that elite sport keeps going.
Yeah, and the people that listen to.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Of course.
Yeah, I think football is just in a privileged position in it, particularly the elite level. By elite, we probably mean the first 4 divisions, don't we? When we're talking about Premier League, Championship, League 1 and League 2. They're in much privileged positions. That this isn't Sunday League football where players are at risk, and these are players who train with each other every day. So that becomes their work. Their work bubble, doesn't it? Like
you bubble,
like me and you go to work, so we're allowed to work, or we've been told to stay at home. But some offices, some places are still going to offices. Some takeaways are still congregating together. So people are still working, and people are still within their bubble. So what better teams to manage it than the top 4 elite leagues? And let's be fair, I'm no scientist, mate, but it doesn't take a genius to realise that the people who are by far the least at risk are the fittest of the fit, who are playing elite sport, who are in that age bracket below, 40, 50 years old, who are super, super fit. Now,
we're not just saying that if you're just an elite person that you can't get it, but we've seen, the stats are there, 833 people since this began that have been fit and healthy have died. Now listen, every death is an absolute, it's unbelievable.
It's awful.
But we have found that it is over 80s, underlying heart issues, obesity, people with general, COPD, asthma, severe asthma. We get it, like that is the people that need to be looked after. But I think that we've managed that wrong. I think that we could have gone back to a bit more of normality a little bit earlier, but I'm not a scientist. I can't. This is my personal opinion. I think that when something like this has happened, they're not going to get everything right, and we expected mistakes. But the way that things have been handled has been wrong, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And I just want to get your thought immediately, because first when I heard it, I was like, ooh. Then I was like, actually, Sean Dyche's comments about actually giving the players the vaccine so that the money then can go for testing. It's £150 to test these players every time. They're doing 3 or 4 a week. He was making the point of, well, just vaccinate the players, we'll pay for it, then let's donate then some money back to the NHS. And when you heard it, you was like, yeah, that actually makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, the people who are getting vaccinated every day are the people who are just going through the NHS, aren't they? So actually, if the Premier League are happy to pay for it, and there are more than enough doses, what have they bought? 60 million doses of one of the 4 vaccines, and and obviously, they can go through the whole of the UK, just like that. It's not going to be a quick fix, and they're going to prioritise, the people who are more at risk. Now, if the Premier League, if the Premier League or the Premier League footballers are saying that they want to pay for it, and that money can go elsewhere, then I can see the people who are probably against it. But actually, when you think about it, and the amount that football does for people, for people's mental health.
Morale.
The morale of the country, for football fans.
For instance, mate, I know it sounds crazy, but my girlfriend wouldn't be an avid fan of watching it, but she just sat and watched that Chorley game because we're from, she's from Chorley, big fan. She's actually sat and watched that, and she was like, I'm buzzing now. She was like, she's doing the housework now, and she's like, but I feel great, and I was like, yeah, and that. I know it's such a cliche, and there's some people out there that cannot stand football, and that is absolutely fine, but it is the most watched sport on the planet. And it does boost morale, and if we can keep it going, and money financially, we do need to keep it going, even though there isn't fans there. So, I think it would be a very good idea.
Yeah, I mean, football needs to keep going, man. I mean, when this first all kicked off, last March, God, that seems so long ago. It does.
10 weeks off, mate. 10 weeks, and we're back to one year. Where we lost football for 12 weeks. We lost football.
Yeah, something like that. But I think that first phase of the lockdown, we were obviously getting our heads around the seriousness and how to deal with it. But people can deal with it now, man. People can live with it, or not live with it.
Prepared for it. We're prepared.
Yeah, we're prepared. Listen, I work in a health and safety industry, and what they tell you is, if you can't cut the risk completely, minimise it as much as you can. And if you can minimise it by using more money to minimise the risk, there's a make weight there. And if football can do that, then do it. But yeah, listen, football's in a privileged position to handle it. Football in general is much better for mental health. Particularly, it's the most popular sport in the country, in the world. It's the most watched thing on TV. Which people are staying at home more, they're watching more TV. And it's the most watched thing on TV. So, listen, the people who are playing it are less at risk probably than everybody else. Saying that, man, if and touch wood that this doesn't happen, if there is a footballer that is seriously affected by it, then I think they will probably have to take a stance and say, right, we may have to rethink the whole situation. But up to now, there's been no footballer that's been serious unwell with it. Footballers have had the disease.
Cells and St Maximan have struggled with it a bit.
Yeah.
But again, they struggle, but they're not. It's not life or death at the minute with them. They've just it's winded them, and it's kind of like getting a severe case of the flu.
Yeah.
To these guys that are fit and healthy.
Yeah.
And whatnot, and but I mean, just tell me, when they started, had you ever heard of furlough before?
I never heard of furlough.
I heard Paul Furlong.
Paul Furlong.
I heard of furlough, and I've heard unprecedented. That word must be the word of the year last year.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times I heard that? If I had to do a shot every time the word unprecedented jumped up, I mean,
it's just been a mental year, hasn't it? And listen, the quicker fans are back, the better. But again, when there is a safe, and we're not playing this disease down, are we? Really, we're not playing it down by any means.
No, 100% not. It's just that I think we're just being a little bit. We want to be a bit more realistic. The news, it's very scaremongering. It's and I don't think that. I do still think we could be going back to a bit more normal in shops and whatnot. I actually quite like the idea of protecting, like the older generation by, keeping them our 2-hour windows for them to go and shop. I don't mind that, and then everyone else just kind of blend in. And a friend of mine, she's 93, she's getting a vaccine. She does hope that now we're getting a little bit back to normal.
But there has been small positives, throughout this whole lockdown. I mean, I think me and you are completely different people to what we were a year ago. I think everybody is, aren't they? Loads of people have taken up different hobbies, and it actually, increased their health, tenfold. So I think there's, and I know we're going to touch on it in a little bit, but Villa last night, who played there, whatever, under 20s. There's
they
been.
Wouldn't have ever.
No, they wouldn't have ever, and. Again, we're not downplaying the disease whatsoever, but the players who have been out, it's given younger players a lot more opportunity. So listen, there's been a lot more positives than what we think out of this in terms of it within football anyway.
Good. So right then. So getting back to football, we've had a busy Christmas period. It's been great actually, because we all know that in England, the Premier League over Christmas, it's awesome. It's just game after game after game. I turned on the telly today. I've already watched 2 games, and there's Bundesliga back on, and I love it. It's a feast.
But Andrew,
probably right.
I'll ask you the question before we go on to this. Is it too much football?
Not for me. I love it. I am one of them people that, when football's not on, it does change my mood. It really does. We text and we've said, God, I miss it. I want to play. I want to kick a ball. I want to watch. For me, it knocks my mood because I have such a different career that I look forward to football. It is my my therapy and my my getaway from the rest of the world. And I really miss it when it's not on. So for me, my girlfriend probably has loved the fact that when it was off for 12 weeks, that were quite nice for her. But she even understands that I need that time and whatnot, and it's nice. And I think when someone takes that away from you, you realise how much you miss it. I feel like when I moved away from Leeds, mate, from you, realised.
Distressing, horrible time.
But it's true, and it's just been game after game. I think that the games, look at Arsenal, the relegation battle. They beat Chelsea and they're going 3 games unbeaten, and the next thing you know, they're only 7 points off the top. And and then Chelsea, they were 3rd, and now all of a sudden they've lost 4 games and whatnot.
So do you quite like the varied kick-off times and the amount of football that's coming in? It's literally every day, isn't it?
I love the fact that I can watch every game. I love that. You can literally watch a game at 12:30, 3, 5 and 7, and if you just want a day of doing nothing, I think it's brilliant.
Do you think when fans come back though, that should be restricted a little bit more? Do you think the 3 p.m. kickoffs should come back and some games?
100%.
Yeah,
it's traditional, mate. It's traditional. Yes, I'm loving all this, feast of football. However, tradition, and I think just in general for everyone. It's worked because of television rights and what the money and aspect, and obviously to give people that sense of, I'm going to watch that game, or my team's on, because we can't go to stadiums. We'd have to go. We watch on the telly. But yes, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock kickoff, and a 5 o'clock kickoff. The traditional one, 100%. That needs to come back. Yeah.
And the Sunday 7 o'clock kickoffs.
At the minute it's great because we're doing nothing else. So yes, I don't mind it, and maybe for the rest of this season, yes, I think for carrying on of games and trying to fit games in, keep it. But when we get normality, when we get 50% crowds in, 80% crowds in, and that normality is kind of resumed, we go back to Super Sunday, 2 o'clock, 4:30. It used to be 4 o'clock, but they've sneakily done that. Have you noticed that? It was 4:05 and now it's 4:30. But I think it needs to go back to the traditional times. I think the players would like that. It's just been good though for people like me and you who want to watch the football. It has been good. Leeds had a good Christmas period, which was good. We got beat by Spurs. However, we won the 2 games that we thought we wanted to win, which were great. We give West Brom a bit of a pasting. I think that we've had a great Christmas period, really. We've got Crawley next. Mark Wright is nailed on to score the goal. if ever there was a goal scorer more nailed on to score, that's tomorrow. It's
Mark Wright tomorrow, isn't it? Absolutely. He hasn't even made an appearance.
100%.
He hasn't made an appearance yet, but he's absolutely nailed on to scoring.
Just touch. Just touch.
Left foot bottom corner.
Run on. But let's go to that Villa game then last night. Obviously the kids played because of the COVID test, and actually they give a great account of themselves. They were strong, they were bold. They made some of them Liverpool players not look average at times, but they were pressing, and they weren't overawed by anything. What did you assess of that young Villa side, and the credit to them for doing that?
The kids did all right, didn't they? The kids did all right.
It was past the bedtime, and they did all right.
And they came on like.
They were young.
They came on a little minibus, didn't they? And listen, they just gave a great account of themselves, didn't they? I think if I was one of them young players going into that game, I would expect a bit of a pasting, but I would be hoping for a goal that actually means something at a particular time within the game. And that equaliser was just fantastic, wasn't it?
That went it, yeah.
Yeah, the finish itself were great, and actually defensively they were pretty sound most of the game. Although, loads of credit to Villa, the players were fantastic. I understand how and why Liverpool played how they did and how they struggled to score. we can only compare it to five-a-side, man. Me and you have played in some teams where we play against incredibly poor. Villa weren't poor, but they were young. Incredibly poor position and opposition, and they are so hard to break down, man. You can try for you, but you play against poor players. You become a poor player yourself because you reduce. It reduces your quality. Your effort drops by 50%. And listen, they did all right. Did Villa? They did really well. Granted, none of them will play for Villa ever or any Premier League team ever.
We can't say that. Can't say that because I think there's some talent there.
There really was. There was some good talent.
His name, the defender, the big lad.
I know what you mean, but the defender, the left back, did all right as well. There were Winston Bogart's cousin who was there.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was pretty random, wasn't it? But I was watching him going. There's some pretty good talent in this team. And, because and it was quite nice to see that talent up against a strong Liverpool side because that was a strong Liverpool side. And we laugh and joke that maybe some of them, and actually, the truth be told, is probably 95% of them players there probably won't go on and
probably not
and play for Villa. Maybe not even play top flight, but maybe Championship. Matty Holland.
But
I think it was a good insight, and just for them players. I mean, he took his goal so well, didn't he?
It was a great finish. Great finish.
Owen, off the shoulder, he let it run through, and I mean, he coolly slotted that in, and his interview were great after one.
Oh, it was so good. How refreshing! Listen, I know you're in the industry of sorts, but it's so good to see players who aren't media trained, who just they just release their emotion, and he might have said a few things that he regrets possibly, but. Listen, it's just.
I watched that interview. I thought it was great, and you just hit the nail on the head there because, they become like robots. You kind of know what a player's going to say, and it will be media trained, by the way. They do get media trained straight away. However, it is totally different when you've just scored. In his head, that'll be the winner because him scoring against that Liverpool team, he's already won. He's like he's like rocking into school into year 10 on like Monday. Well, he's not going to school probably at the minute, but like in his head he's going, oh my god. So when the cameras are put in front of his face, that raw emotion was awesome to see, wasn't it?
And he's thinking about his schoolmates and stuff who he's going to see the next week. Oh, he's going to see probably on Zoom the next week, and he's going to be like, I scored against European champions
with a cigar there. Zoom.
That's none of my business.
Lou, what are you doing? None of my business. No, I agree. I think Liverpool, they did get the job done in the end. And that little bit of class shone through.
I think, and I don't know what your awareness of this is. Last night proved to me that I want a reserve league back. I don't know if you remember the old reserve league of the early 2000s. Of the early 2000s, where it'd be just B teams, just purely Premier League B teams. In a league and. It'd literally be the reserves. You'd have under 18s and under 21s playing alongside top players who didn't get in the team at the weekend. And I remember so many reserve games like at Ellen Road. I remember 20,000 going to see Man United reserves, and that made footballers who were of that age between like 18 to 23. It just made them into proper footballers, so that they didn't get such a big shock. Where they when they played against these bigger players, but. That's probably a conversation for another day, but I'd love to see that back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's kind of lost that little, like when you've got Petr playing with 16-year-olds and the Johnson Paint Trophy.
It's the Johnson Paint Trophy or whatever it is.
Whatever it is now,
Was it Mike's Carpets Cup or something? I don't know.
Mike's Carpet. Remember that commercial? I mean, you're right. Actually, as well, it takes away the fact of them smaller teams that are not, the League One downwards when they're playing that. I'm calling it Johnson Paint Trophy. It kind of takes it away for them a little bit as well, doesn't it? They kind of don't, because that is their big cup. Some young lads trying to work their way up.
Yeah, we saw it a couple of years back, didn't we? When they first trialled that trophy, you had like 18-year-olds playing against Charlie Adam. What is Charlie Adam going to get out of this game? Really, it was mental. Really, that's for another day.
It's funny with all this, especially that's gone on with coronavirus, because I think we've all had to we're seeing it now, even with the FA Cup, the way that like there's no replays, and then like I know what you say about VAR only being introduced into certain games.
Yeah.
We are looking at rules a little bit different, and we're seeing things. I don't know, but maybe because there's just so much football. But I know you're not a massive fan of the VAR in the Carabao Cup, so we'll move on to the Carabao Cup, the Man City, and of course Tottenham.
Yeah.
Mourinho has got to a final. Before we get into the VAR debate, what did you make of the games?
Tottenham just did it as was required, didn't they? They good segue, by the way, mate. Moving on VAR to Carabao Cup, fantastic. But the VAR decision in the Brentford game, which I think we disagree on, the offside. Now, I mean, that was Brentford's first semi-final. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, probably in their history. And to have an equaliser ruled out after watching it, whatever it was, 3-4 times because he was a kneecap.
But I immediately thought he was offside. I didn't. My first thought was he's offside there. I thought his leg. I didn't know what it was.
But did you need another look? Did you need another look?
Well, when they showed it once, and I went, he's offside. So he's offside. I mean, like, I think you're very against it. Whether I'm against it now. At first, I was for it. Now I'm not against it. There's so much we could do to make it flawless. I don't understand it. I don't like all the drawings and stuff. But I watched it once and I went, oh, he's offside. His knee's offside. Now, for me, a knee, leg, offside is a clear offside because you get the extra reach. If an arm's offside, which we discussed with Bamford, then I think it's ridiculous. But for me, his knee were offside and it shouldn't have been a goal, and it wasn't a goal. So for me, move on. That were it.
In a fashion. I mean, the thing that frustrates me about VAR is that, it's not immediate for one, but I would be more in favour of VAR if it didn't review every single goal, which it does, and it only looked for absolutely blatantly obvious, mistakes where we've seen so often where they are really, really nitpicking these decisions. Where we've lived in a football game where you give advantage to the attacker, and if it's incredibly marginal, then you give the advantage to the attacker or you go with the referee's decision.
What if you're a defender though?
What do you mean?
But what about if you're a defender and go, well, why are you giving the advantage to them? We've played that perfect and he's offside. That means that we've played that good.
I would always say, look, you go with the on-field decision if it's not blatantly obvious. And although that is quite a vague and quite a subjective narrative to put around VAR, that's the only way you can do it, because the only other way you can do it is the way that we're doing at the moment, which is killing the game. And that is, bringing these protractors out and, putting these lines on the field. That's not the game that we fell in love with, man. And that's not the game that kids coming through will fall in love with. We fell in love with a game that was immediate. You score a goal, immediate elation. Oh my God, we've scored a goal. Not, oh my God, we've scored a goal. Maybe let's review.
I always say it's the Aguero goal for me.
Yeah.
Imagine that goal now.
Yeah.
Balotelli, Aguero.
Yeah.
He scores. That emotion. I mean, I remember I was in Gran Canaria watching it, and even I was cheering. It were unbelievable because it stopped Man United from league, But imagine now if that was the case, you immediately look over to a linesman and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I do agree with that. I do. I tell you the one rule I don't like about VAR that I cannot get my head around is waiting until there might be offside. It goes through, and they let it. If you get injured, which how many times, Scott? We've watched thousands of games. Players have gone through, and hamstring goes.
Yeah.
And it might not have gone. You know what I mean? If that referee or linesperson, stops. That is one rule I can't get my head around.
I struggle. Well, that and another rule, by the way, is another rule that I despise. That rule comes. The first thing that comes into my mind is: do you remember when Michael Owen did his hamstring at Ellen Road? Because it was straight through. It was straight through on goal with the keeper, wasn't it? Now imagine if that was miles offside and the linesman kept his flag down. Owen carries on running and he's out at World Cup. And he's out at World Cup. So I don't get that. I really don't get that. I think again that's another decision that's flawed. The other rule change that I'm talking about, and it's nothing to do with VAR, is this thing where you have to leave to the nearest side of the pitch. Now The reason, my reason for that is, mate, maybe I'm being petty here, but you know, as soon as you leave the side of the pitch, you're still wearing your shirt. You know,
that's true.
The guys who are training at the side of the pitch wear bibs so that you don't mistake the. There's that famous.
And we have seen it a couple of times. We have seen it, haven't we?
There's that famous video of that League One player who ended up passing to a security guard who was walking along. Do you know?
I remember that.
Mate, that
awful touch by security.
Yeah, terrible. calls himself a left back. No, but this will happen, man, because I understand the principle behind it is to get the player off at the quick as you can, but
time wasting.
Time wasting. But you can manage that. You can manage time wasting by tell the player to hurry up, or if you can tell when a player's not running or if he's being lethargic. Get off the pitch.
All right, mate. I tell you what, just add more time on.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's easy this game, isn't it?
Go off the same. And it really is though. Like, I think we listen to a lot of talk sport. They're debating and we find ourselves texting going, "Hey, you listen to this? I agree with this. I agree with that." Realistically, 90 minutes, two teams go at it. Offside. We've got the rules in place. Goal line technology people were against. Brought in, super quick, brilliant. The only flaw we had was the Villa Sheffield game last year.
That's one in 4 years, isn't it?
Yeah, come on. There's got to be a little bit of leeway. But 9 times out of 10, 99 out of 100, it's been perfect. I still think that VAR is right for the game, but at the minute it's not. It's not right. It's not right in the fact that I don't think the technology is up to standard for that quick decision which you're on about. Now, I know you. I've known you, 12, 13 years or whatnot now. I think that if VAR would have been quick and good and just boom, I think you'd be on board for it. And that's why I'm still not 100 against VAR get out of the game. I wouldn't mind getting out of the game at the minute until it comes back and goes, you know what, guys? I wish they'd just put their hands up and go, I think we've got it wrong at the minute. We're not quite there yet.
Yeah. And listen,
so
that's
we're going to trial it in Tunisian Division 2.
Yeah.
And then go, right, we think we've got it now, guys. Or the rule is we're going to watch the instant replay once.
Yeah.
If we can't figure it out,
but it's right, mate. You hit the nail on the head there, as you always do. I'm thinking about in business in general, or if you're inventing something, you invent something, you've got a prototype, you test it. Oh, sorry, it's not quite right yet. You take it away, you redevelop it, you put it back in again when it's correct.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that's involved in football today, you bring something in like VAR, it is clear and obviously not working. So you take it out again, and you play around with it, and like you say, do it in the Algerian 4th division under 11s or something, and and then make sure.
Why can I picture that image? I can see the under 11 Algerians going.
Yeah. But do you know what I mean? The one thing that's really been patronising about it, and was it Mike Riley that said, it's really worked. We're really starting to see fairer decisions. I mean, you say that to Leeds fans against Crystal Palace when it was what were it 2-1 or 1-0. These decisions.
Well, you could reel off a list, mate, of teams that's gone against. But
in answer to your question, Andy, yes, Spurs played all right.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, Spurs were all right. They got the job done, didn't they?
Yeah, they did a classic Mourinho. Son, world class, innit? Brilliant. Yeah. Took second goal. Absolutely brilliant.
Did exactly the same thing as Leeds. They were poor for. Or they just
clinical.
They're just clinical. 2 chances, 2 goals. Leeds 3 chances, 3 goals. When you've got players like that, they're just clinical. The Man United game was different on it.
I actually thought Man United played all right. Yeah. I thought City are looking good again. They're looking like that City where you just don't want to play them. They're playing without a recognised number 9. De Bruyne played up there the other night. And by the way, he is some player.
Yeah, agreed.
And do you know what? As well, I heard this the other day. I don't know if you heard this. De Bruyne doesn't have an agent. He represents himself.
Right. Okay.
Which I was, and they said, it's really refreshing. Like, he knows his worth. He said he didn't want an agent. he works for himself, and he's gone into Man City and he's doing his own negotiating. And I thought, yeah, and I think it was maybe Tony Cascarino. He said something like, he's 29, he knows his worth.
Yeah,
he knows how good he is to that club. He knows what he's won. Let him go in there and do it. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty. I mean, I suppose I've done my own dealings.
Yeah, he's looking after number one there, isn't he? He's looking after number one, isn't he? He can just do his own stuff.
It's actually quite incredible. But yeah, he played as like that false number 9. He was dropping back. Foden looked really good again. They were clinical, but I actually don't think Man United played bad. I just think that Man City were that good again.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. Although the difference between the two teams were Man City's defence was. I mean, Diaz and Stones looks back to his best. He looks as if he's found a partner, doesn't he, in Diaz?
100%. 100%, man.
You know, that goal from Stones was just lax defending from Shaw and McGuire. They were ball watching. Again, it's just those little moments where, 89 minutes McGuire was great, bringing the ball like he used to, defending really well. But,
it was good.
But that set piece and, he switches off. Same again with Fernandinho's goal. They head it out. Nobody chases out, or they're quite slow to get out.
He took that well, though, didn't he?
He did take it really well. He did take it really well. But going forward, Man United just really weren't clinical. I thought Martial was poor. I don't think
he must be the most frustrating player, because you obviously know that he's got a ton of talent, but
yeah, and
he's just never cut it.
Same with Rashford. I mean, I'm a big fan of Rashford, and
he's better than Martial.
Yeah, he's a better player than Martial, but again, he sometimes flatters to deceive in some games, and I think we expect a lot from Rashford because he set the expectations so high.
Yeah,
but
and he's English, so there's that extra pressure.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, of course it is. But who'd have thought 3 months ago we'd be saying that Man United really missed Edison Cavani?
I tell you what, the run that they've gone on proves how balmy the Premier League's been, because what is it, 7 points separating first to ninth or something like that?
Yeah.
You put together 3 wins, and Man United were sitting 15th 8 weeks ago, and now they're joint top. If they win the game in hand, they're in the lead. You can't look at your son and go, "Where did that?" I didn't realise that Man City have only lost 2 in the last 25. I thought they were on like a 10 unbeaten run. I'm going, they're finding the way again. I'm like, oh my god, they're like. So I have no idea. I mean, Southampton, they're almost falling into that category now where you're going to go, do we have to consider this for top 4? Maybe not to.
Yeah.
But we're nearly at the end of January. They're sitting third or not. But then in 4 games, if they draw 2 and lose 1, they're 10th.
It's all because, mate, this Premier League has been so inconsistent, and that goes from the rule changes, which are different now to the beginning of the season. There's different rules now to there are then. There was crowds in some games and crowds in not. So some teams have been helped, some teams haven't.
Yeah, that didn't work, did it, pal?
No, it didn't really work. No.
Yeah.
But it's such an inconsistent season. So you're going to see teams going through like they'll win 3, then lose 3, like Arsenal do.
Can I ask you something? Just going back to that VAR thing, just your opinion. Do you think that VAR has evened the field a little bit, though, for everyone? I know Man United win every penalty, but generally across the board, do you actually think that teams can't get away with certain stuff? So maybe it's helped in that sense, maybe?
Possibly. I think the one thing that may help with longer term is when if players do get fouled, or if I don't know, maybe if a player handles the ball and then he scores, it might be more akin to sort of say, look, don't even bother going to replay it. I did it, I know. I don't know if it's made it fairer, because I mean that's what Mike Riley said, didn't he? And a lot of people disagreed. Technically, it probably has made it fairer in the sense that the rules have been adhered to by the book. Processes are processes, and they have been adhered to. But I don't think it's even the Premier League out. I don't think so, because, like you say, mate, Man United have always been prone to get 15, 20 penalties per season, and they hasn't stopped that, has it?
No, I suppose I just with Villa having a good season, Southampton. Do you class Spurs in the title race? I do. I still think they're up there. I think it would be between Liverpool, Man City, Man United, and Spurs. I still think that they're the strongest all round for me.
Yeah, I think your top three are probably sorted. Or we know three of the top four. I think the fourth position. I don't mean by the position fourth itself. I mean the fourth one of the top four will either be Chelsea or Spurs. And again, I think
because if Chelsea put together a few runs again, they haven't really spoke about them, but they've had a big dip off, and is it eight games or something?
But Chelsea are one of these teams again, man. You know, as soon as they go on a run, they have a bit of momentum, and again, they had a bit of momentum when they had crowds in. Now they don't have crowds in. You know,
that's true.
You know, the team seems to have slipped a little bit. Spurs, I mean. It all depends on the number of games that they're playing, I guess. You know, they've got Europa League.
Well, talk to me then about transfers, right? Because it's January. I mean, the transfer window's open. We don't think there's going to be like 100 million deals going through. The Grealish to Man United, it's not going to happen in January. It's just not. Whether that's going to happen at all, I'm still not sure. But for someone like Spurs, Mourinho, he knows that they're close. He knows that they're in on it. So, did they just buy just to bulk a little bit, just to get them closer, ready for the final push, you know, because before we know it, it's going to be March and then there's 8 games left.
Yeah, I think he probably struggles a little bit with the squad depth a little bit, doesn't he, Mourinho? You look a bit further than the first 11. Bale hasn't reached the heights that he has done. He's not particularly keen on Dele Alli. Sergio Aurier isn't the best right backup.
Terrible.
I know you don't rate him. You know, so maybe they do need reinforcements, but I think Spurs are a lot like Arsenal in a sense. They've got a couple of bits of deadwood there to get rid of. I think you'll see a lot of Premier League teams getting rid of the players who are way down the pecking order. You know, pushing the wages up a little bit. Just quickly, mate, while I'm on it, what were your thoughts on Arsenal taking out another £150 million loan after putting 50 of the staff on redundancy whilst also paying 50 million for Thomas Partey?
Arsenal are the weirdest club in the world because they have obviously the one of the richest clubs, you know, that we know of, season tickets and general tickets there. The way they've acted, it's almost like the owners are literally non-existent. We watch a lot of AFTV. We see that they shout and scream about it, but I do feel for them because they're non-existent. The furlough staff, the furlough Gunnosaurus, then they go buy 50 million Partey. They keep Ozil on 350k a week. By the way, he looks like he's now going to Fenerbahce, which I think we could have nailed 2 years ago. That's where they'd end up. They're just a weird club, man. They need a director of football, which I think Man United need, by the way, as well. I think Ed Woodward needs to just concentrate on commercial stuff, get a director of football in. But they're they're a weird club. They're a weird club. And, you know, look at Arteta and Lampard. They've switched positions now because Arteta, loads of pressure on him. Chelsea were flying. To a degree, they were flying. They were doing okay. And now, all of a sudden, they've reversed. Lampard's under pressure. Arteta's breathing straight. Yeah. I have no idea, mate. I have no idea what's going on with Arsenal because I still don't think... They've got a band-aid on at the minute, mate. Yeah, I don't think that it's... It
frustrates me with Arsenal because, you know, I remember the Arsenal of the Wenger years, the early Wenger years, between like 2000 to 2006 maybe, where Arsenal...
98 to 2006.
Yeah, where Arsenal...
8 year, 4.
Arsenal as a football club just oozed class. That was on and off the pitch, you know... Maybe because they had a lot of French players, because they had a lot of Vavavoom.
Well, they just had a lot of good players, mate.
Yeah, and you know,
a good set of players.
The football that they played was sensational. You know, the manager was great. You know, off the pitch, you know, they were great. Just a really good-looking football club on and off the pitch.
Yeah.
But you know, over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and I know you're a huge fan of AFTV. I don't think it does them much help.
Doesn't affect the players, though, mate. It doesn't affect the players.
It doesn't, and it shouldn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't, and it shouldn't.
You're talking about football. You know, you
shouldn't. It shouldn't affect the players.
Liverpool have got a podcast going on, but they've just won the league and Champions League. So I don't buy that. Robbie's doing his thing at AFTV, you know, and whatnot, and it's just a place for people to vent. Doesn't make a difference. Aubameyang apparently watches AFTV, and like I said, that's fine. They can watch all they want, but they're still going to perform on the pitch.
Yeah.
Them saying that, fans are shouting at them in the crowds, mate. Yeah. So I don't really buy that. I mean, like again, we could go on for a podcast and a half with Arsenal, but I think next week we're going to review all the FA Cup. We're going to talk about Leeds getting knocked out by Crawley, probably by Mark Wright's 89th minute header. Hopefully not. Chorley are going to be in the fourth round. Let's hope that they get a big team. It's just going to be a good round. I like the fact that the FA Cup's on this weekend because I feel like the spirit's back. There's some big teams there. But we will catch up next week. We'll talk about all the games and let's do a nice review show and maybe some more transfer talk next week as well.
Excellent. We'll do that, mate.
We will see you very, very soon.